So what does Arizona's low flat income tax really mean for out-of-state buyers? Honestly, I get this question a lot. People often think, Arizona doesn't have an income tax, right? And I totally understand where that comes from. But here's the scoop. Arizona does have a state income tax, and it's a flat 2.5%. Now, that's definitely not zero, but if you're coming from a place where you've been paying a lot more, that difference can really add up in your monthly budget. Now, let me tell you what matters most if you're thinking about retiring here. Arizona doesn't tax Social Security benefits at all. Not at a reduced rate, not above any thresholds. They just don't count it in your taxable income. For many buyers I work with, that's often the biggest chunk of their retirement income, and it can really shift the math when you're planning your finances. But here's the catch that some folks miss. Other types of retirement income are still taxed. If you're pulling money from a 401k or an IRA or even a pension from your previous state, that's getting taxed at that same flat rate. There are some exceptions though. Military retirement pay can be fully deducted, and there are smaller deductions for government and civil service pensions. If any of that sounds familiar, I'd recommend chatting with a tax professional before you make any big decisions. I'm a real estate agent, not an accountant, but I can tell you that an hour with the right person can save you a bundle. Now, let's talk about how this affects your buying power. A lower income tax rate doesn't change the price of a house, but it does affect what you can comfortably afford each month. Buyers moving from states with higher taxes often find they can actually look a little higher in the market than they had planned. Or they can keep more room in their budget for the fun stuff, like a well, a generator, a nice deck, or a road that can handle the monsoon season. But I gently remind you, Arizona does fund itself somehow, and a good chunk of that comes from sales tax and property tax. So when you're comparing a move here versus staying where you are, it's important to look at the whole picture. Property taxes can really vary by county and even by parcel, so I prefer to show you the actual figures on a specific home rather than giving you some average that might not even relate to what you end up buying. Now, why do people end up moving to certain areas in Arizona? Well, a lot of folks are drawn to the higher elevations, which means cooler temperatures in the summer. They love having 4 distinct seasons and being surrounded by beautiful ponderosa pine forests instead of desert. What I notice is that buyers who come here for the tax situation often stay for everything else. The peace and quiet, being just 10 minutes from a trailhead and having neighbors who actually wave at you. The tax benefits get people to crunch the numbers, but it's the lifestyle that often seals the deal. If you're seriously considering a move, there are a few key questions worth asking early on. For example, when does Arizona actually consider you a resident? And what does that mean for your first year? If you're selling a home out of state, how does that state treat any gains? And if you're keeping a property back home, how does that impact your new situation? These aren't strictly real estate questions, but they're crucial for figuring out if a move makes financial sense. And trust me, it's a lot easier to plan for these things in advance than to fix any surprises later on. So if you're weighing a move to Arizona and want to chat about what's available and what it really costs to own here, I'm always happy to help you navigate that. No pressure at all. If you found this helpful, like it, subscribe, and share it with anyone you know who's considering a move. You can reach me at 623-512-9763. I'm the Mountain Bear Team Realtor based in Payson, Arizona, and I'll talk to you next time.